Let's start here. Almost everyone, at some point, realizes that something doesn't add up. You follow the advice you're given. You try to do the right things. You listen. You communicate. You're honest. You show interest without being desperate. You respect boundaries. You make an effort to grow as a person. And yet, despite all of that, the outcomes still feel random. People change, attraction fades, relationships end without clear explanations. You're left replaying conversations in your head, wondering what you missed. That feeling, the sense that there's a rule book everyone else has access to except you, is deeply unsettling. Humans can tolerate pain better than confusion. Pain at least has a shape. Confusion feels endless. So when someone comes along and says, "There is a reason this keeps happening, and once you understand it, people will stop surprising you," that message lands hard. This is the psychological doorway into red pill thinking, and it's where the idea of reading people like a book takes root. It's not just a phrase, it's a promise. A promise that confusion can be replaced with clarity, uncertainty with prediction, and emotional risk with strategic understanding. When people in red pill spaces talk about the book, they are almost always referring to The Rational Male by Rollo Tomassi. Whether someone has read it directly or absorbed its ideas secondhand through videos, forums, or podcasts, its framework shapes how reading people is understood in that world. To understand what that phrase really means, you have to understand what the book is trying to do at a deeper level. The book doesn't present itself as self-help in the traditional sense. It presents itself as a corrective. From the very beginning, it argues that men are misled about relationships, attraction, and women. Not just mistaken, but systematically misinformed by culture, media, education, and social norms. Romance is framed as a comforting lie. Emotional explanations are framed as narratives people tell themselves after the fact. Moral language is treated as social programming rather than truth. This framing matters because it establishes a hierarchy of knowledge. If society is lying, then those who accept its explanations are operating blindly. And if you reject those explanations, you are no longer confused, you are awake. This is the psychological pivot point where the reader stops listening to conventional advice and starts reinterpreting everything they see. From this moment forward, reading people no longer means understanding them on their own terms. It means seeing through them. One of the earliest lessons the book teaches is that people, especially women, do not fully understand their own motivations. According to the framework, behavior is driven primarily by instinct, not conscious choice, and explanations are created afterward to make those instincts feel socially acceptable. This idea isn't entirely invented. Humans do rationalize, but the book elevates it into a near-universal rule. Once you accept that premise, listening becomes less important than observing. Words are demoted. Stated intentions are treated as unreliable. Emotional explanations are viewed with suspicion. The real information is assumed to be hidden in behavior, patterns, and outcomes. This is where the sensation of being able to read people like a book begins. You're no longer engaging in conversations as exchanges of meaning. You're watching for tells. You're scanning for consistency. You're translating actions into motives using a predefined code. That code revolves around a small number of core concepts, the most important being hypergamy. In The Rational Male, hypergamy is presented not as a tendency, but as a governing law of female behavior. Women are described as biologically driven to seek the highest status made available to them at any given moment, defined by dominance, resources, confidence, and social proof. This drive is described as constant, unconscious, and largely immune to moral intention. Once hypergamy is accepted as the master principle, human behavior becomes legible in a very specific way. Attraction is no longer mysterious, it's arithmetic. Interest rises when perceived value rises. Interest falls when perceived value drops or when a higher value alternative appears. Emotional closeness is reframed as proximity to value. Distance becomes recalibration. This dramatically simplifies interpretation. If a woman pulls away, the question is no longer, what is she feeling? It's, how has my perceived value changed? If conflict arises, it's not about needs or communication styles. It's a test of dominance. If reassurance is requested, it's insecurity responding to imbalance. If boundaries are asserted, they are framed as leverage rather than preference. This book reinforces this interpretive style by introducing the concept of frame. Frame is described as the mental and emotional context that governs an interaction. Whoever maintains frame controls the interaction. Losing emotional control means losing frame. Explaining yourself means reacting to someone else's frame. Seeking validation is surrendering frame. In this worldview, interactions are not collaborative experiences. They are negotiations of influence. Even moments that would traditionally be seen as bonding, sharing feelings, expressing uncertainty, asking for reassurance, are reclassified as strategic vulnerabilities. So, when the reader is taught to observe people, they are taught to look for signs of frame strength or frame weakness. Calmness signals control. Emotional expression signals instability. Certainty signals authority. Flexibility can signal weakness unless it's framed as deliberate. Over time, this way of reading people becomes automatic. Another major shift introduced by the book is how emotion itself is understood. Emotions are not treated as internal experiences deserving understanding. They are treated as behavioral drivers and social tools. Affection becomes reinforcement. Withdrawal becomes punishment. Anger becomes pressure. Sadness becomes leverage. Even joy and admiration are interpreted in terms of what they reward. This has a profound effect on perception. Once emotions are framed this way, it becomes difficult to experience them at face value, both in others and in yourself. Emotional displays are no longer invitations to connect, they are data points to analyze. The phrase, "watch what they do, not what they say," is repeated constantly in red pill spaces, and while it sounds reasonable on the surface, the book takes it to an extreme. It doesn't just say that behavior matters more than words. It says words are often meaningless, except as camouflage. Compliments become hooks. Apologies become damage control. Expressions of love become conditional. Promises become placeholders until circumstances change. When you internalize this, communication changes. Listening is no longer about understanding, it's about filtering. You hear words, but you don't trust them. You wait to see what happens next so you can interpret what the words were really about. And when contradictions arise, when people behave in a way that doesn't seem to fit the model, the framework has built-in explanations. Loyalty exists only while value remains high. Honesty exists only when it aligns with instinct. Genuine affection is real, but temporary. In this way, the system becomes closed. No behavior can disprove it because every outcome is interpreted through it. From the inside, this feels like insight. It feels like clarity. It feels like finally understanding the rules of a game you've been losing without knowing why. And that relief is real. The book gives people language to explain experiences they couldn't previously articulate. It helps some readers stop idealizing others. It pushes them to improve their own lives, careers, and self-discipline. It discourages unhealthy overinvestment and teaches the importance of boundaries. But the way it teaches reading people also changes how relationships feel. When you interpret every interaction as a power exchange, you stop being emotionally present. You monitor yourself constantly. You manage impressions. You avoid vulnerability, not because it feels unsafe, but because it's classified as weakness. Over time, this creates emotional distance, not just from others, but from yourself. You become very good at predicting outcomes, but less skilled at experiencing connection. You can explain why something happened, but you feel less of what it meant. There's also the issue of accuracy. Human beings are not uniform. Attachment styles shape behavior. Trauma alters responses. Cultural context matters.
personal values influence decisions. Two people can display the same behavior for different reasons. When you reduce all behavior to status calculation, you flatten complexity. Misinterpretation becomes more likely, not less. A boundary set for emotional safety is read as manipulation. A moment of insecurity is read as strategy. A need for reassurance is read as weakness. And because people respond to how they're perceived, these misreadings can create the very dynamics they predict. This is the self-fulfilling aspect of the framework. If you treat relationships as conditional, they become conditional. If you assume affection is contingent on performance, you behave defensively. If you withhold vulnerability to maintain frame, you attract people who are comfortable with distance rather than intimacy. None of this